Lafayette's Best Country 95.7. It's B. Adams back for another Y95 Live. It just keeps getting better and better and better. We've had so many great guests and so many great more to come, including today's guest, my man Dan Burnell. What's up?
What is up, bud? I haven't seen you in a long time.
I know, man. I've said this about a couple of guests that we've had on, but I haven't seen you in a few years. But we're friends on social media.
Yeah.
So we kind of stay in touch that way, but it's always good to see you in person again. So last time I talked to you was at a different station, a different city, and you were still doing music, but you were in Danville, Indiana, kind of local, playing a lot of local shows.
Right.
You've made a change. Tell everybody what you're up to now.
A little bit of a change. Yeah, I kind of moved states. I'm living down there in Nashville, Tennessee now, playing on Broadway 4 days a week and just living the dream.
Just chasing that neon dream, and you're
right.
doing well. It's been a lot of fun to keep up with you because, man, I saw you played a lot of shows at AJ. That's Alan Jackson's bar, AJ's. You've played at. I saw you were at Tootsie's at one point. Was that down in Florida though?
Yeah. Well, I was part of the Tootsie circuit, they call it down there. There's like 4 bars that are part of all that. And I worked with them for about 4 months, and then they fired me.
No!
The worst part was it was the week that after they sent me down to Panama City, and I had one of the best weeks of my life down there. I had one of my most profitable weeks of my life.
There you go, though, man.
And then they came back and they just fired me on the spot.
Yeah, well, it's such a cutthroat business, especially down in Nashville. Yeah. And there's so many talented people. And you know what, though? You got the experience. You got to play in Tootsie's, which is probably the most famous honky-tonk. Definitely top 3, I'd say.
Yeah, especially down that way, yeah.
So you got to play Tootsie's, AJ's Good Time. What is the actual name? Good Time Bar?
AJ's Good Time Bar, yeah.
Yeah, and which is really cool. And now you were telling me before we went on the air, you're playing a lot at Hank Jr.'s place.
Yeah, Hank just opened up a place down there, Hank Jr.'s Boogie Bar, they call it. Playing down there 3 days a week, and another place called Lucky Bastard Saloon.
Love it. And is Lucky Bastards, is that on Broadway too?
It is right there on Broadway.
So, man, you're just eating it up down there. And I know a lot of people that are listening obviously make trips down to Nashville. If you're a fan of country music, then you probably get down to Nashville at some point, or you want to if you haven't. And the talent down there is just insane. So talk about that for a second, because obviously you're good enough to book these shows. You're good enough to play in these bars and these honky-tonks, these legendary places. But, man, how crazy is it? Just talent-wise, nobody down there sucks, right?
Well, I will say this. I'm not naming any names, but there have been some people that I've seen that's like, you're really trying to do this right now? But in all honesty, you can't blame them, can't fault them for what they're doing. But yeah, other than that, about 98% of the talent down there is ridiculous. You can't hardly go into a place without being blown away. I have had the honor and the privilege of playing with some people that have played with my heroes.
Yeah.
Currently, one of my guys used to play with Aaron Tippin.
Wow.
Don Williams. And Sammy Kershaw.
I mean, those are
Martina
legendary
McBride
names.
and stuff
Legends.
like that.
Those are legends.
Oh my gosh, it's just nuts.
So you're down there rubbing shoulders and mingling with these types of folks. I'm
very blessed.
I love local music. I love finding local talent. A lot of our local talent go down to Nashville to chase the dream, and there's just something about just being down there. And one thing I love about you is you haven't forgot about back home. For instance, you're playing a big show this weekend at 8 Second Saloon, which is Indiana's big country bar. You got 8 Seconds. We got Duke's down there now, which is a honky-tonk, but 8 Seconds is kind of the legendary country bar in Indiana.
Right, and the funny thing is that 8 Seconds was actually the very first bar that I ever played a live show at.
Really?
I was 22 years old.
How did you do that?
I was 22. I played the Battle of the Bands. That's how I did it. So it was the very first time I ever played in a band, and we got to play the Battle of the Bands there.
And you did pretty well, right?
That year, no.
But you've been in it, multiple times.
I have, and I've won it. I've won it before, and that was. I'm trying to think. I think that was 5 or 6 years ago that I won it. I think.
So when you win Battle of the Bands at 8 Seconds, what do you get from that?
So you get a cash prize, and then you get opportunity to open up for a Nashville act, and I got to open up for David Lee Murphy.
Oh wow.
So
Great artist, but
yeah.
a great songwriter.
Oh my gosh, amazing,
Such a good songwriter.
amazing. So I got to open up for him. I've gotten the opportunity to open up for multiple people there, like Colt Ford and Josh Abbott band, Josh Grayson as
So how
well.
are the crowds when you open? Obviously, I mean
They're unmatched.
everybody knows when you go to
Yeah.
shows, not everybody, but a good chunk of the people are there to see the headliners.
Oh, yeah.
So as somebody that's there as the opener, are people piling in early and still catching your show?
Honestly, about 75% of the shows, yeah, they do that to where they're there for the whole night and everything. And about the only about the only one that I can really come up with. My very first one was at Colt Ford. It was a packed house. By the time it was like 8 o'clock there, like
Wow.
they was sold out.
Yeah.
2,500 people, and I was starting at 9 o'clock. I think I had the first segment there at 9 o'clock and everything, and it was nuts. I had people singing back to me. It was awesome. Now, granted, I didn't have any of my own songs at that time, but that feeling of where you can just step away from the microphone and the whole crowd sings it.
Yeah.
I want that feeling one day with one of my own songs.
Right.
That's what I want.
You're on your way. You're doing all the right things. You're down in Nashville. You're chasing that dream. And like we said, you're rubbing shoulders with a lot of the right people. So I think it's coming, man. It helps that you're really good, but also you're putting yourself in the right positions to do that.
Right.
So was that the biggest crowd you played in front of? Was it the Colt Ford?
Yeah. It's like I said, that was just the packed house there. I think that was probably my biggest crowd that I played for.
And you also, speaking of your originals, you recorded a music video at part of it, at least, or was it all at 8 seconds?
That was all at 8 seconds there. Yeah, my song "Honky Tonk Bound."
Honky Tonk Bound. If you go watch that video, just search Dan Burnell. Is it Dan Burnell or Dan Burnell Band?
Dan Burnell Band.
So search Dan Burnell Band and what's it called?
Honky Tonk Bound.
Honky Tonk Bound. Check out the video. It's awesome. I just watched it earlier this week, and actually, our guest last week, Mikey Good, I'm sitting there watching that music video, and Mikey's in the music video.
He sure is.
So
he was a co-writer on that song.
So he was a co-writer. He's in the music video. And correct me if I'm wrong, but was our mutual friend David Rowan, did he help?
Yes, he recorded that video.
Very nice.
He did that one, and that was my debut single, Honky Tonk Bound. And then I just released last year my newest song, DTF. And
my koozie.
Yeah.
he brought me a koozie today, Dan Burnell Band. Say what DTF.
So DTF stands for Down to Fish.
People weren't expecting you to say fish.
That's right. They always love it when I play that song.
Is there a place that people can get your merch? Because you brought me a hat, a koozie. Can people buy your merch?
I mean, honestly, the best way is if you want to contact me through social medias, because I don't have a website yet for all that. But I'll be more than happy to, if we can do like a Venmo transfer and stuff like that, and then I can mail out your merchandise if you want that. Or the very best way to do that is just come out to
Live
a show.
Yep.
Come on out to 8 Seconds this weekend.
I was getting ready to go.
I got all my merchandise there.
I was getting ready to say, go to a show, and you can get merch there. You mentioned your social media handle. Shout those out real quick.
Everything is at Dan Burnell Band. You can't mess it up.
And he's a big burly guy. You got to see his big sexy beard. Well, as he mentioned, he's got a big show this weekend. Tomorrow night, it's tomorrow, right? Saturday?
Yep, Saturday night.
Tomorrow night at 8 Second Saloon. I know we got a lot of listeners that get down to 8 Seconds a lot for shows or just to go line dancing or whatever. Tomorrow night's going to be a great opportunity for you to go down and see Dan Burnell Band. And if you're not sure if you want to go or not, hey, I don't even know what this guy sounds like. Good news, he's going to play a song for us coming up in just a few minutes. Chatting with Dan Burnell Band here on Y95 Live. We'll be back to hear some live music from him in just a minute. Back on Y95 Live, hanging out with my good buddy Dan Burnell, the Dan Burnell Band. He's a great artist. We already got to know him just a little bit, just a few minutes ago. And now he's going to play a song for us. This song is actually called DTF. And it's not what you think. You just got to listen to the words. But this is actually the koozie he brought me this morning. Dan Burnell Band, DTF, Down to Fish. Let's go ahead and hear it. It's Dan Burnell Band. The song's called DTF on Y95 Live.
Buddies always told me to find me a woman that always treat me right. Find me one that can get dressed up, get down late at night. Yeah, and Mama always told me to find a little lady, cook like a 5-star chef. But I'm just trying to find me a girl that's always DTF. A girl that can handle a real big ride, never miss a crank. Yeah, a girl that can show me true love, I can take to the bank. And I always wanted to find me a woman, feel my every wish. And I got one that's DTF, that's right, she's down to fish. I tell you now, it was love from the first time that I saw her. Showed me she was all about that bass, not afraid to get in the water. And it must have been fate when I took her bait, because she called me with just one look. She worked my pole real nice and slow, and then that's when I was hooked. Oh, a girl that can handle a real big ride, never miss a crank. Yeah, a girl that can show me true love, I can take to the bank. I always wanted to find me a woman that could fill my every wish. And I got one that's DTF, that's right, she's down to fish. She's a girl that can handle a real big ride, never miss a crank. Oh, a girl that can show me true love, I can take to the bank. And I always wanted to find me a woman, feel my every wish. And I got one that's DTF, that's right, she's down to fish. Said I got a girl that's DTF, that's right, she's down to fish.
Love it. There's a lot of play on words in that song.
A little bit.
My favorite was Take Her to the Bank, but you're talking about a fishing bank.
Well, yeah, of course. And, you know, the best part is, just like you said with that last song, Honky Tonk Bound, that I wrote, this one was also written with Mikey Good, your guest from last week.
I don't understand how I haven't heard that song yet from you. I don't know how I've missed that.
I don't know either, man.
But I like it. It's and then there was parts of it where like there was a few times you sounded kind of like Rodney Adkins a little bit.
Oh, I'll take that.
There was a couple parts in that song where I was like, oh, that kind of had a little Rodney Adkins to it. Which Rodney played at Neon Cactus a couple months back, or a few months back.
He always puts on a good show.
Oh, he was awesome. I got a chance to hang out with him afterwards, and just the nicest guy in the world. Nicest guy in the world. So
I love hearing that.
I mean that as a compliment. There was
Well,
parts in that song where you sounded like Rodney Atkins. It sounded awesome. That song is called DTF by Dan Burnell. Dan Burnell Band. Find him on social media and check out all his stuff. You can find some of his merch there, and right there one more time for you. If you want one of these koozies, I'm definitely going to put this to use. And again, he's playing tomorrow night at 8 Second Saloon there on the west side of Indy. Not too far from here, because you just take 65 to 465 and hop off right there on the west side.
That's right.
And it's going to be a great time. I'm sure you'll hear that song plus many more. And I understand that they might even be able to get into the show for free. How?
Yes, sir. I got myself free tickets. You can get on any of my social medias that I have, and I'll have a free ticket picture right there. All you got to do is just show them the picture of that ticket. Get in for free. Every single friend that you have there with you. Heck, even if you bring your dog, I'm sure they'll let them in for free too. You never know.
Well, hear that song live tomorrow night. I'm going to have to see what I got going on. I might have to try to stop by and see my good friend,
Hey, I
Dan
might even buy you a
Burnell.
beer. You never know.
Hey, all right, I'm there.
All
I'm
right.
there. I'm sold. You twisted my arm.
There you go.
Get on his social media if you want to go see him tomorrow night. Get you a free ticket and go see Dan Burnell tomorrow night at 8 Second Saloon. We're going to chat with him more coming up here in just a couple of minutes on Y95 Live. Back once again on Y95 Live. It's 95.7 Lafayette's Best Country. Hanging out with my good buddy Dan Burnell, who made his way up here from Danville, Indiana. He's kind of hanging out around Indy this week, but lives down in Nashville now, playing all the bars down on Broadway, doing his thing, chasing that neon dream. And we just heard his song DTF, which was awesome. And I'm excited because I got a DTF koozie that I can't wait to take around town so everybody can say, "What's that?" Man, appreciate you making the drive up here today.
And glad you had me up here, man. I appreciate it very much.
And you said you just got some new wheels, so you just kind of got to go for a cruise.
Had to whip out the new whip. That's why it shouldn't be on Facebook Marketplace at 4 in the morning.
That happens. At least you're buying stuff that's useful. You know, how many people get on there, especially at 4 a.m. if they're drunk or something, and something shows up at their door the next day, and they're like, "What is this?"
Oh, Amazon got me again.
Oh, I love it. Well, Dan is playing playing a show tomorrow night at 8 Second Saloon. If you want free tickets, hit up his social media pages, Dan Burnell Band. You can find him pretty easy if you just type that in, and you can go see him play some good music tomorrow at a great venue. And 8 Seconds for, like I said, a lot of our listeners go down there. We give out tickets to concerts there all the time. But for those listening that haven't been to 8 Seconds, I encourage you to get down there and check the place out. Whether they have, an artist that night or not, they do a lot of like line dancing and line dancing classes, and it's just a really cool venue.
Oh yeah,
and
one of my favorites.
You've been connected with them for years now. You went 5, 6, 7 years, something like that.
I mean, like I said, first place I was at 22 years old, and I'm 35 now, so that's. Was that 13 years?
13 years, man. Yeah.
Look at me doing math. All right. I'm going to be proud.
And you did it quick.
That was quick, man. I'll tell you what.
All right. So you've talked about all the people that you've got to open up for and things like that. Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
Okay. So, like I said, David Lee Murphy was definitely a big one for me. Now, one of the coolest things opening up for people was I got to, in my hometown, there in Danville at the amphitheater, got to open up for the Kentucky Headhunters.
Oh, wow.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that'd be awesome. In your hometown too.
Yeah.
So they have an amphitheater there?
We do, out there in the park, man. We're big time.
I didn't even realize that. It seems like every town nowadays though is getting an amphitheater.
We've had it for a while though. It's been there ever since I was a kid. So.
Oh well, shows how much I know.
Well, you just don't come down to my parts very much, man.
All right, so David Lee Murphy was one of your favorites. Yeah. You mentioned the Kentucky Headhunters. So if
Josh Abbott probably too.
Just
because I love Texas country, man.
Right. Well, they have their own whole scene.
Gosh.
It's like it's almost like its own genre.
On that scene, yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Mikey went down there. Mikey Good went down there and played a lot down in Texas.
And he hooked me up with one of his people to possibly promote some stuff down there, but I couldn't pull the trigger yet.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite at that level yet, but I kind of wish I did. But you can always look back on.
So you've already opened up for a lot of big names who you've already mentioned. If you could pick, I don't know, give us 3 or 4. Your dream, if you could be an opening act for anybody, what 3 people would it be?
We talking like living or
living or dead?
Living or dead. Okay.
Why not? Let's dream here.
All right. My number one would have to be to open up for Garth Brooks, because I grew up basically watching a bootleg. Please don't hate me for that, Garth. Bootleg VHS tape that I watched from the time I was 3 years old until I don't know how late in my life.
And he's alive.
Oh my gosh.
He's alive, so that's still possible.
That
you
could
can make
be a possibility.
Happen.
I mean, he's got a bar down there in Nashville too. So he might come through and just want to see me. You never know.
All right, so Garth and who else?
Garth, man, probably a big one would be Merle Haggard, man. If I could open up for Merle Haggard, that would have been awesome. And then just because everybody always thinks I'm him sometimes downtown, Luke Combs.
I was getting ready to say, once it's got to be Luke Combs, right?
Luke Combs.
Which I've never had an opportunity to interview him or meet him, but I've heard such great things about the guy. Yeah. Just a good dude on and off the stage.
Right.
And those are the kind of guys that you like to support and everything. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I can see that. You guys got to get a picture together.
I mean, I got to show you the video later on, but I did basically a side-by-side TikTok video where he was singing a song and I just kind of lip synced right next to him, but I had the exact same camera angles and everything. I changed it and stuff. It was funny. I had the same shirt and everything like that.
So what's it like when you're playing all the bars on Broadway down in Nashville, the crowds, like number one, do you kind of have do you notice that you kind of are building a little fan base? Do you see people at numerous shows, or is it because it's Nashville and because it's Broadway and there's always bachelorette parties and visitors and tourists? Right. Is it a different crowd every night?
I mean, 98% of the time it is a different crowd every night, but there are times whenever we have those people that just keep coming back. They'll come back to Nashville and be like, hey, we're back in town. We want to see you. Where you at and stuff like that. They'll hit me up and want to know where I'm at so they can come see the show again.
Yeah.
Because they just love it that much.
Well, that's good. I mean, obviously that's a good thing. You're building a fan base. Yeah. So have you ran into any famous people down there?
A few. I've been able to cross a couple of names off the list, get to meet Trent Tomlinson.
Mm-hmm.
He's such an amazing songwriter. I got lucky enough that he passed over his number to me and wants to possibly write together. So that
Hey,
could be something
that's
someday.
huge,
So
man.
yeah,
That's huge.
got lucky.
Are you doing a lot of writing? Do you get
Yes.
down in like writer rooms down there? And
I've done a few writers rounds. Unfortunately, I stay real busy with playing, and I need to spend some more time. That's kind of why, I've got myself to where I'm doing now 4 days a week down there that I'm playing in a row. Then I have 3 days off, so I can get more into those writers rounds and really more than anything just meet some of those people that are doing that, because the more people you meet, the more chance you have to write with other people,
yep.
get different
Networking, man.
views and stuff like that, because you never know, you might not even realize that you're writing with someone that could be a number one writer someday.
It happens all the time.
Every day,
It happens
man.
all the time. I listen to podcasts and I hear these people, a lot of up and coming artists. I like to listen to a lot of up and comers. And a lot of them tell stories about, I used to hang out with such and such, and now they're like, they got 4 number ones.
Yeah.
It's wild how that happens.
There's so much talent down there with so many amazing writers. I've been very lucky to write with a few of them.
Talking with Dan Burnell Band. He's playing a big show tomorrow night at 8 Second Saloon. Get you some free tickets on his social media page. Just reach out to him. He'll get you taken care of. Show up to 8 Second Saloon tomorrow night. See some good music. Dan Burnell Band on social media. And if you already heard his song DTF, which he played just a little bit ago, he's a good artist. But if you missed it, he's going to play another one for us coming up here in just a couple minutes. If people want to find DTF or any of your other music, where can people find you?
Man, I am lucky enough to be everywhere. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Music, Amazon Music, anywhere you can find music, I'm there. The only place I haven't seen myself so far is on Touch Tunes there inside the bars, the little jukeboxes in the bars. I don't know who I got to talk to about
make that happen.
I want to be in there, man. I want it.
All right, Dan Burnell, can you stick around a little bit longer? I want to have you play one more song for us.
Of course, man. Anything for you, bud.
All right, another live song from Dan Burnell Band coming up here in just a couple of minutes on Y95 Live. Back one final time on Y95 Live, hanging out with Dan Burnell, who made his way up here, playing all the bars down there on Broadway in Nashville. Appreciate his time and getting up here and hanging out with us today. And, he's already going to be in town this weekend to play that show at 8 Seconds, but it's still an extra, hour drive to come up this way. So we appreciate you taking the time. And you already played DTF for us. I keep grabbing the koozie because it's the DTF koozie. And it sounded awesome. What are you going to play for us this time?
Man, this is going to be a song that I'm going to get into the studio and record this one as well. It's called Back Home. Figured, since I'm here back home in Indiana, might as well do a song about it.
Makes sense. And this one was actually by request.
Yep.
Our buddy Sean over here, our videographer, by request. It's Dan Burnell. The song's called Back Home on Y95 Live.
I was younger, was a different kind of day. Didn't have no cellular phones, no video games to play. We'd play in the backyard till the sun was set. Mama started hollering, knew we better get back home. Where I was born and raised back home. I'll never forget those days back home, where those good times are made back home, back home. I grown older now, I changed my ways. Headed off to college just so I can get away. I kissed my mama, shook my daddy's hand, and I headed out the door. I fired up the old pickup truck, held it to the floor. Back home, where I was born and raised back home. Yeah, I'll never forget those days back home, where those good times are made back home, back home. Now that I'm in Nashville singing 4 nights a week, I realize that right there is where I need to be. And I climb right off the stage for another show. But now and then I find myself, especially driving down the road, back home. Oh, where I was born and raised, back home. Oh, I'll never forget those days back home, where those good times are made, back home, back home. Yeah, where I was born and raised, back home. Oh, I'll never forget those days back home, where those good times are made, back home, back home, back home, back home. I gotta get back home.
Yeah, man, belting it out, ain't you?
Yeah, bud.
That song is called Back Home. That's Dan Burnell Band. And Sean, how you feeling back there? You want to get back home to Illinois now? 2 thumbs up. Go check Dan out tomorrow night, 8 Second Saloon. Hit up his social media pages, Dan Burnell Band. If you'd like to get in for free, you don't even got to buy tickets. Go to his social media page. He's got some posts there. You'll find it. If you need some help, just send him a message. He'll respond.
That's right.
Very responsive guy. Very responsive guy. And hey, if you want some of this cool merch too, make sure you hit him up and or go to the live show. Go to a live show. You can get his merch there. You can get a cool koozie. I put on my Dan Burnell hat.
Yeah, buddy.
I switched it out mid-song there.
Looking good.
Switched it out mid-song. I still got the tag on it, but that's all right.
That's to save the value of it, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the tag on. Actually, I'm starting a new trend.
There you go.
Well, that's Dan Burnell Band. Appreciate you making the drive up here today. Hope you have a great show tomorrow night at 8 Second Saloon. It's an awesome venue. They bring in so many big names to that place, and you're one of them.
Man, thank you so much.
You're part of the 8 Seconds fam now, whether you like it or not. And if you're ever down in Nashville, make sure you follow him on social media because he's always posting where he's playing at. Right. He might be at Hank Jr.'s bar. What was the other one?
Lucky Bastard.
I was going to say Old Dirty Bastard.
They haven't made that one yet. No.
That's where he'll be playing in about 15, 20 years.
That's right. Me and Wheeler Walker.
That's right. If you're ever down in Nashville, look him up because chances are he'll be playing one of the bars down there on Broadway. And looking forward to a great show tomorrow night at 8 Seconds. Dan, is there anything we didn't mention that you'd like to mention?
Man, I tell you what, you just nailed everything with me here today. I appreciate you all so much. Like I said, come on out, see me tomorrow night, get your free tickets and stuff. Can't beat a free show, and I mean, for the price of the ticket, you get yourself a beer instead.
That's
Can't
right.
beat that.
That's right. Dan Burnell Band. Appreciate you, my friend. This has been Y95 Live.